first. I'll just go ahead and cough all over my intro. It's all right. It's fine.
No. Let's do it again. Do it again, please. Do it
It's
again,
all right. I'm
please.
leaving that in. Welcome to our first edition of our weekly Fight Plug episode, where we're going to be recapping everything that went down. See, I already fucked myself up. I lost the page.
Yeah,
The
see, now you want to do it again. You piece of shit.
UFC Fight Night. It was an Apex card between Rafael Fiziev and Rafael dos Anjos. That was at the top of that card. So we're going to be recapping some of those fights. And then we'll also be doing our mini breakdown of UFC on ABC 3, headlined by Brian Ortega and Yair Rodriguez. And there's some more interesting fights on that card. Although
Shane Burgos
versus
is going to
Charles
get fucking down.
that's the fight of the night right there, dude.
Dude, my nipples are fucking hard right now.
Great call. Although I do feel like I have to warn you before we dig into that card, which will be later in the episode. But there's not only one, but two Chinese fighters on this card, so I want you to be on good behavior.
Okay.
I wish we could play that pronounce the name thing this episode, but I wasn't prepared for that. Jing, that one's easy.
I like him though. He's cool.
I like him too. I don't think he's going to do very good against Muslim Sadikov, but this other guy,
that's a banger. They got some low key. They're trying to do ABC right. Like you could tell they're trying to like really get ABC like some juice.
It's a sneaky good card. Punahele Soriano on here versus Dalcha. I'm going to take a stab at his name, Lungiambula. That's going to be a good fight, I think. And then I am also actually interested, all jokes aside, about this other Chinese kid, Suma Dairji, one of the few guys who's fighting with one name in the UFC roster. But let's rewind. Let's go backwards and let's talk about UFC Fight Night. Fiziev versus Rafael dos Anjos, the battle of the Rafaels. From now on, like I said, it's Ralph dos Anjos. He's lost the privilege to be called Rafael dos Anjos.
Not a party dude anymore. He's no longer a party.
Fiziev gets it done in, was it round 5? Yeah, late in the fight, round 5, 18 seconds in, catches Rafael dos Anjos with a left hook and puts his lights out, if for only momentarily. And some people thought it might have been a little bit of a quick stoppage. The optics looked like the ref got in there really, really fast, but in the replays, nothing about it looked controversial to me. It really did look like Rafael dos Anjos got his lights put out for a split second, even if the follow-up punch might have waken him up. But what did you think about this fight, the competitiveness of it? Did you think Rafael dos Anjos was... Well, did you have it even going into the 5th round, I should ask?
No, I thought Fiziev, he had it. He was probably like, around, like 3. You got it?
Yeah, man, I got it.
Yeah, okay.
I had it.
I thought you were gonna pull out your Fiziev hat. No,
sorry to interrupt you.
No, you're fine. I thought he was winning. Dos Anjos' boxing looked super crispy. His jab looked like very crisp. And Fiziev was in that clinch. He's just so dangerous. Those Tiger Muay Thai guys are real fucking. What are you smiling about?
I'm not smiling about anything.
No, I can't. You can tell him and Jan they train there, or Fiziev's a coach. And those guys are fucking are real fucking dirty. In the clinch, especially like exiting the clinch. Like you can get in there with him. He's gonna throw some knees. He's gonna throw those looping knees. They look busy. It makes you look a little busier than you are. Like the Thai style, for whatever reason, Thai style judging, like knees take precedence over anything else. It's like knees, kicks, like punches are like dead last, and elbows, knees, kicks, elbows, and then kind of like punches. And the way he exited those clinches with those his elbow game is pretty crazy. And the one thing I saw from Fiziev that I liked too was he was switching up the angles of his kicks, where it looked like he was coming in high and hitting them more from like a mid angle, which was really he's a tricky motherfucker. Like you can see that he's a fucking he's a and his I think we talked about it during the fight. Was his defensive wrestling was fucking savage to go up against a legend like RDA, who's done pretty much everything. He's not a wrestler, but he's a damn good grappler.
Mm-hmm.
And he did what was he, like 8 for 10 or something like that? It was like
as far as defended takedowns,
yeah, he blocked like 8 out of 10.
He was, I think he was at least defended 10 of 12 takedowns, and one of those that was counted
10 of 12, correct?
Yeah, and one of those that was counted as a takedown was like he got him down really quick and he popped right back up. I almost wouldn't count it as a takedown.
And then elbowed his ass out on the way out. Yeah,
I thought it was.
He looked great. He looked good.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really good performance for Rafael Fiziev, God damn it. Because of the way that RDA was threatening him, it answered a lot of questions. Like, there was a lot of questions about how is Rafael Fiziev going to look going into the 4th and the 5th rounds, because RDA has a lot more 5-round, main event experience. That wasn't an issue. Rafael Fiziev didn't look like he was struggling with that at all. Then there was also going to be, I also liked how much RDA was going for the takedowns. It was fruitless. It turned out to be a waste of energy.
Yeah.
But that answers a lot of questions about Fiziev's defensive wrestling, which is important in a division like lightweight, because there's going to be plenty of guys who are going to test that, and it's a good accomplishment to be able to defend that many takedowns from RDA, because he's not the most decorated wrestler by any means, but he's a really good grappler. I think he has a really, really dangerous top game. And Fiziev knew the assignment, and he didn't ever really let it get there or put himself in a compromising position. Everything he threw was just with bad intentions. Like, his Muay Thai is just so just disgusting, man. And it like, he punches in a way where it's like you would worry if he whiffs too much, because he commits to everything that he punches, but he doesn't, man. He found his mark, and that exchange that ended the fight was a little bit weird. How he came in with the
fake knee, that wasn't it. The way I saw it was like, oh, sorry to cut you off though.
No, you're good.
But the way I saw it was like, that's fucking genius, because he was using that a lot, or he was threatening that a lot, and I was thinking, like, is he doing that to kind of like, don't fucking try and take me down, because you're gonna fucking, when you level change and you put your head near my fucking knees, like, I'm gonna throw this shit at you. So that's what I thought more so. A lot of Muay Thai guys use that knee as a, like, kind of like put it in their opponent's head, as like, if you step in with that, like, you're gonna eat this. And that was just gorgeous, because and you could tell he just pulled it back. It was mid-range, like right about to where the navel went, and he pulled it right back down and came down and threw that flurry. It was pretty.
Yeah, I also thought there was some fun little entertainment value, referential value, as far as like in the first round. I think it was from the first round. It was early in the fight. You know how Fiziev and Connor had been going at it online about this thing about like, oh, you switch to the axe kick if he's like leaned back how far. Well, RDA knew the real answer, which is like, just throw a leg kick, fake a high kick, because he actually baited him with that at one point, and Fiziev did the matrix, the real far lean back, and it was actually just like a kick to the thigh, and it's like, well, there's no evading that leg kick when you're like bent all the way back like that. But
that looks super cool, and like it in a more like, where like guys are throwing hands more, that looks super cool. But if you watch like Glory or Lion Fight or just any type of Muay Thai, they do that a lot, because they're not really scared of what could come of that, what, like, as far as putting themselves in a weird position. So, and he's such a high level guy that I'm sure he's not too worried about it, no matter who he's fighting. I'm sure if he does it to someone who, if he's in there with like a Michael Chandler, or he's not going to do that as much, because that's kind of going to put you in a like, here, take my waist.
Yeah.
Like, you just go ahead and have that. Like, he knows when to do that and who to do it against. But yeah, that was so funny that him and Connor going back, like, I just turned that into an axe kick, and that was fucking hilarious. But that guy always has something to fucking say, man.
It's a very weird thing to nitpick on too. Like, I kind of wish, like, wouldn't mind being a fly on the wall for like some of these instances where like because it's really easy to
Oh, I
sit
thought
back.
you were gonna say like to fly in and jump on the pile of coke and then fly back out. You mean like
Just
in
a fly
Connor's
going
hotel
straight
room?
through plate glass windows.
Yeah.
But yeah, also because it is very easy to sit back and imagine that yeah, Connor's just all coked out on his phone. I mean, I kind of want to confirm if that's the truth because to just randomly open your phone and decide to tweet about like Rafael Fiziev, I mean, he did have a fight coming up, like it was relevant, but still, it just would have been like one of the last people that I would have expected Connor to be tweeting about.
How ruthless is that for Brad Riddell to fucking go from like fuck okay, Fiziev just fucking handled it, and then let me just like fucking refresh myself, get myself back on the track with Jalen. And then
but you have to fight the tarantula, Jalen Turner.
Yeah. This man sells dogs and spiders, and then you're gonna. He's like, this clown, and you just get choked out. Anyway, we always obligatory talk about Brad Riddell, but man.
So, let's see. What other fights do we want to highlight from this card? You mentioned Jamie Malarkey versus Michael Johnson. A bit of controversy here. We both scored this fight for Michael Johnson. But even then, like I was watching this, just telling myself this is the most Michael Johnson fight ever. Like he's only he is capable of looking like an absolute world beater, and then also no disrespect,
he was
kind of like a scrub in the same fight.
Yeah, he was face down, ass up at one point, dude. Like, I was like, whoa. And then he just got up, and then it's so crazy in his fights to where it's like, okay, either him or the other guy, their neck gets jerked straight to the left or right, or they just get punched it's like a highlight reel shot that they take. They go down, and then I don't know how. Every single fight of his, he's going to be in the UFC for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I had mentioned like I was like insanely just burnt, just like redder. My eyes were redder than the devil's dick, and I was just high as hell sitting in my house, thinking like, man, would he have been like, say, after Ultimate Fighter, or he was in the Ultimate Fighter, right? So,
let me confirm. I've never actually watched.
I think he was. I've seen him on an Ultimate Fighter event, like fight, like on like a finale or whatever. But I don't know if he was actually. I think he was
Exhibition MMA. Yes, yeah, he was in the Ultimate Fighter season 12.
So what if like shit just doesn't go as good for him, and then he goes to Bellator? Like, could he have been like the fucking Bellator fucking like that's their guy? Before now they have guys there that are, you got McKee over there, you got guys that are really good, but like back in the days it was Slim, and he could have been someone who would have just like looked crazy over there. Like could he have legitimately been like
given
top guy?
Absolutely. I think he could have been a top. I mean, he would have been a mainstay, a top 10 lightweight, but probably also could have floated around the top 5 for a while when you consider like how often
like, he could have been the champ.
Yeah, when you consider how often
him and Chandler, right? He would have gone up against Chandler and Pitbull
and them. Guys, right? And when you consider how often those guys fought each other over and over, and Eddie Alvarez back in the day too, like they definitely had their ring around the rosy, where it's like the same like 3 or 4 dudes. I mean, you can't really blame them. In Bellator, it's a little bit slim pickings. Their lightweight division has never been as deep as the UFC's, even in the UFC's worst day. Which I couldn't even really think, like, what would even be the worst era of the UFC's lightweight division? Like, when Benson
It was almost not there, right? Like, Dominic Cruz, like, saved it, right? That division.
Lightweight?
Didn't he? Yeah.
No.
Didn't he save it? Or no? Or who saved it? Or no, Dominic saved the bantamweight division.
Yeah, definitely bantamweight.
Right. Sorry.
And I mean, lightweight's always been a really strong division. I mean, there's been times when, like,
BJ Penn, right? BJ Penn was the lightweight champ. No?
BJ Penn, Frankie Edgar,
Matt Hughes.
Benson Henderson. I feel like Benson Henderson might have been like the weak era of the lightweight division, but I would need to
Toothpick.
I'd want to look up the rankings from that era too, and be like, well, maybe the division was just fine, and it was just the very top, because he strikes me as like one of the weaker champions, even though he had multiple title defenses. Maybe it was just the way that Anthony Pettis took him out, though, that makes me not remember him fondly.
Like the scripted, hey, do your kick now.
Do you?
That one?
I mean, it was impressive, but it was also like, hey, I'm gonna throw this kick, and I'm gonna throw it 3 more times, and you're gonna eat it every time, because you're just spellbounded by it. Or, I mean, I think he hit him in the liver, but I don't. Why are we talking about Benson Henderson and Anthony Pettis?
Because Michael Johnson and Bellator.
Yeah, Michael Johnson. I think he would do reasonably well there, and he's a guy who's fought. Was I messing up with what weight were they fighting at? Of him and Malarkey, was it a lightweight fight? Let me take a look at that.
I believe so.
It was, because I was looking at his record right now, and I saw his fight with Josh Emmett, and that was a featherweight fight. So he's done some work at featherweight also.
Yeah.
But Michael Johnson is 20-18. We're talking about Bellator champ.
But it's like, who is he? He's fought Khabib, he's fought he's fought
Justin Gaethje.
Everybody. Justin Gaethje, he's fought everybody. That the Khabib one was the scary one, when he's like, Michael, I like you, Michael, but you know this. I should be champion, Michael. You know this. I deserve. I deserve. And then I heard he was in. I think it was the. It was like the Valley Tudo hour with Renato Laranja or Lahanja, or however you pronounce it. But he was talking about that, and he's like, it was really weird. Like, I had this really weird feeling in my stomach when he was doing that. Because it was like I was fucking trying to get up and move, and he wouldn't let me move because he wanted to finish talking to me. And then when he finished talking to me, then he like let me kind of do my thing. He's like, that's a scary thing.
Yeah. And talk about bringing him back down to earth too, because going into that fight with Khabib, he had just knocked out Dustin Poirier in the first round, like in 1 minute 35 seconds too. So it's like you're riding high, and then they tell you that you got to fight a guy with Magomed in his name. So tough fight. And like we said, I gave him the edge in this fight. I thought it was a reasonably close fight, though. They both had their moments, but I gave it to him, and I believe they both got a fight of the night bonus. So that's good. I'm sure that helps them, especially in a fight where Michael Johnson didn't get half of his money like he should have. So a fight night bonus for those guys is also nice. Going down the cards to the first fight of the
excited.
Night. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I was excited for that Kai Barallo, but Armin, the Glendelgary,
Petrosian.
Those guys.
He wore Kyle Baralho for a backpack.
Yeah, and that's not the most exciting way to fight, but I mean it's the fruitful way to fight. Like, to steal something from you, like, or your phrase, like fruitful. But he tried giving up for like a armbar, or I think he tried to give it up for an armbar, then he lost out on it. So then the next time he got his back, he's like, I'm not letting this go. He kind of wore his ass down. Those guys can, contrary to what we saw, those guys can fuck. We'll see those guys around. Those guys can fucking swing, because I've seen both of them on that Contender series, and they can fucking fight. I think they're just respected each other a little too much as far as their stand up, and it got to where it went. But
maybe it's just the fact that he wears glasses and also has perfect teeth. But Kyle Baralho has such Charles Oliveira energy.
He's like Giga Chad Charles. Charles is like,
I think he said
through it.
He got into fighting, or all of his boys got into fighting because they were all bullied and stuff. Because he was like a total nerd. So that's cool. He fits in. I'm trying to check to see where he trains out of right now. Oh, affiliation, literally Fighting Nerds. It's literally what
Yeah,
what the team's called.
yeah, that's what they had mentioned. And
That's funny. Okay, let's jump over to the next card. Or
Saeed Nurmagomedov threw a bunch of spinning shit, and he against the cage throwing spinning shit, which is like, I don't know if that's going to work out in your division as you climb up higher at bantamweight, like, but get it out of the way now. But he's really good. I think I mentioned it in the like lead up, or I think just in passing, but he's really fucking good.
yeah, Saeed is like he definitely like breaks your expectation when you hear the name Nurmagomedov, because he kind of breaks the mold. He doesn't bring the style of fight that you would expect. Like you said, a lot of spinning shit.
He's like that Zabit type of guy, like the fucking weird angle striking, and the karate kind of stance type of shit, where you think he's gonna be like a cage wrestler, but he's gonna throw some fucking crazy shit.
Yeah, and I mean, it was a hard fought fight too. De Andrade didn't go away, and they were both spamming spinning shit.
Yeah,
like at the end of the fight, I have the image of that spinning back fist that De Andrade threw, that literally almost like knocked him off of his own feet. Or he threw a couple of those too, where like he was just like, "Oh, I just heard the 10-minute reminder right now, so I'm gonna throw the hardest spinning back fist ever, and literally fall over from trying." And it was pretty funny. But that guy's more durable than I was giving him credit for. I'm still like, I feel like the jury's a little out on Saeed Nurmagomedov, because, like you mentioned, at bantamweight division, I feel like it would behoove him to fight a little bit more like his namesake, and kind of like bring more of that Dagestani wrestling style, because there's a lot of dudes higher up in that bantamweight division who are going to punish him if he thinks that just spamming kicks like that is going to get him very far, very far. But I haven't seen too much of his tapes. Yeah, I think he would know.
Yeah, I would think. Well, there is not much, because I think that's the first time he's been outside of like 30 seconds or some shit like that. Like he's knocked the fuck out of everybody within like, I think he had 3 wins in a row. He was going to break, whose record was it? He had 3 straight wins of less than like a minute and a half, or something like that, like something wild. And he was going to break somebody's record and then they like mention it like, okay, well, the record's safe.
Yeah,
he had like,
he was coming off of 2 wins, one over Mark Striegel. He knocked him out at 51 seconds, and Cody Stamen, 47 seconds, both of the first round. So I'm assuming that might be the case. Although I would have figured that by now.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's specifically for bantamweight then, right?
It may have been. I think it was like in general, because I think it was a female fighter's record, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably Amanda Nunes, maybe. That's crazy, because I totally would have figured somebody by now would have 3 UFC wins, consecutive UFC wins by knockout.
Yeah, that was my first thought. That was my first thought. Like, no, but yeah, that's crazy. But you can see, I think but it's just tough. Like bantamweight, lightweight, like that's just so exciting. The smaller, more diminutive gentlemen, and then what we saw with featherweight, those guys are fucking. It's so crazy to think, like, it should be heavyweight and light heavyweight should be like the cock and balls of this fucking organization, and it's just not right now.
Those would be the divisions I would cut if you told me you had to cut 2 divisions from the UFC.
Yeah.
Actually, I would cut heavyweight and middleweight right now. I would let light heavyweight stick around. But I mean, last episode I literally said I spit on the middleweight division. So it'll probably wait a while till we try and hound down any top 15 middleweights to interview.
Can you pull up the middleweight division rankings right now for us?
Do you want the official UFC rankings, or do you want Topology rankings? I have the UFC
Which
rankings.
What does Ephraim consider the official ranking?
I go by Topology. So let me pull up both. because his ranking will probably be different in both lists. Who am I even looking at again?
Yeah,
Oh, we're talking about
the
middleweight, just in
middleweight,
general. Okay.
the one that you spit on.
I could feel the saliva building in the
Yeah,
back of my throat
yeah,
just talking about middleweight.
yeah.
Israel Adesanya, Robert Whitaker,
Oh,
Jared Cannonier,
God.
Alex Pereira, Derek Brunson, who will be retired soon. He said he's only going to fight one more fight. Sean Strickland, Andre Muniz, who's good, Jack
Very
the
good.
Joker Hermanson, Marvin Vittori,
Mm,
Darren
mm.
Till at number 10. Even for Tapology,
That is
get
the sussest list outside of Pereira, who has like hella heat on him, but like who which is crazy because we were talking about, and I started watching like he is wild, and like so those guys like okay, for anybody just to do it, go Google or YouTube search Simon Marcus and just watch that guy fight, and then Pereira like own that man. Like that guy probably takes a shower thinking about him, and that is like one of the baddest people on the planet. And like he fucking just beat the fucking living shit out of that guy so many times. So that I'm getting like more and more of a fucking hyped up for this Adesanya and Pereira like matchup that's like bound to happen. It's like just watch like I'm so excited for it. And then I was like looking it up, and when they fought, and like I sent you the picture of Adesanya was holding the like Chinese flag, and he like was sponsored by the China, like they fought in Glory in China, or yeah, Glory Victory Road, or what do they call that? Like it's like like a offshoot that they, and then they go fight in China.
Victory Road
And like
sounds right, but I'm
yeah,
kind of just agreeing with you because
and
just
then
for the fuck
yeah,
of it at that point.
just calm down. Like where's this going? Where's this going? I'm all putting away my Infowars shit. I'm like, oh shit. No, but and in that fight, like I'd seen the highlights of that fight, but never watched the full one. I was like, well, fucking, you know, we were listening to, or I was listening or reading, fucking Carl Winslow talk about how like, oh, Pereira was losing and Adesanya let him win it.
Carl Winslow.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, let's watch it. And there were like fucking crazy chess match fights, but like what was interesting was Adesanya came out with the Chinese flag, and like I guess he was like sponsored by like the Chinese, actually, like he's their state sponsored fighter.
Mm-hmm.
And then Pereira came out with an American flag, and he had a Brazilian flag and an American flag, and I was just like, that was so weird.
I wonder if it has anything to do with like whoever, like what fight team they're training out of or something at the time.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. But it was just odd. It was just a weird, like, it was kind of like a weird, like every promotion has their flair, you know, like, we were talking about with Yuri and when he fought in Ryzen, and it was like they had more of that like Pride style, like pomp and circumstance, and then like Glory keeps it super like Euro trash with the like dings, it's like with the fucking that robot music, but that one, like that Glory Road one was, or I'm probably like mispronouncing it, but Victory Road, that was like a weird, the way they did it was odd, like the intros and like the way they did it after the fights and stuff was odd. Why are we talking about this? But yeah, middleweight, yeah, and outside, and then Whitaker's probably gonna have to move up, right? Or are we like that? That's like an idea that's being thrown around that he might end up even moving up.
Whitaker,
So,
I don't know if Whitaker has the frame for light heavyweight.
Yeah.
There's some big boys at light heavyweight who,
yeah,
like skill for skill, I think he can hang, but he strikes me as one of the smaller middleweights. So that'd be interesting. I haven't heard anything about that. I know that after,
or maybe move down. But that, if you take Whitaker off of that list,
it's a bad division.
What are we even fucking doing here, boys? Like,
yeah, it's a bad division without Whitaker. And I mean, credit to Israel Adesanya too. I mean, he has to beat these guys to stay at the top. But entertainment value and just like divisional depth. Darren Till,
Darren Till,
dude, that guy stays losing up, man. Like He can't get dropped out of the top 10. I don't know what it's all about. Interestingly enough, and this is a little off topic, but fuck it, we'll talk about it. Kamaru Usman said he's interested in moving up, not to the middleweight division. He's talking about skipping the middleweight division entirely and moving into the light heavyweight division. I think
CEO of EPO.
The CEO. I think that's silly. But he straight up said, I mean, he didn't like mince words about it. He just straight up said, yeah, that's Israel's division. That's my boy. So I'm not going to touch middleweight. But he said that in the future, he sees himself being light heavyweight fucking champion. And I mean, I don't know what your setup is like right now if you can't pull up rankings, but I was kind of wondering, like, what light heavyweights do you picture Kamaru Usman having a chance again or having a shot against? Because, I mean, skill for skill, he could stand with anybody in the world, but that size, though.
Yeah, like
lightweight, light heavyweight's not exactly the deepest division either.
If Izzy can't handle Jan Blachowicz, like, what's Kamaru really gonna do? Like, that, just start there with Jan Blachowicz. It starts and ends there. Like, if there's anyone who I would say, if anybody wants to get to Yuri or Glover, like, how would you stack up against Jan Blachowicz? How would you stack up against the Brazilian Hammer? Like, how would you stack up against that guy? Like, those guys are like they're mean. You know what I mean? Like, that's not Kobe. that's not. You know what I mean? And it's not the best. It's not the best division by any means. Like, we were just talking about, we'd probably drop it, but like, that's definitely not Colby Covington. That's definitely not Jorge Masvidal. Like, those guys throw some fucking ruthless fucking shit. Like, Jan Blachowicz, I guarantee you that Usman hasn't taken any type of punches that like Jan Blachowicz can throw at like 80% or 70%, let alone like just a full bore fucking left hook right to the body. Like, I don't think Usman, and who the fuck am I to say like he can't do it? Like, he's, you know, a lot of people consider him pound for pound. I don't, but a lot of people consider him the pound for pound best fighter in the world.
But Brandon, Trevor Whitman though.
Trevor Whitman. Yeah. He could probably train with Pat Barry, and you know.
There we go. I don't picture Kamaru Usman holding Dominic Reyes up against the cage and foot stomping him. If I'm looking at the light heavyweight rankings right now, I'd say Thiago Santos. I think he could beat him. Thiago Santos is well past his prime. He's got a lot of. I think he had like a major reconstruct. Yeah, he had like major reconstructive surgery for his knee after the John Jones fight.
He looked good though. But he came back.
He came back.
His last fight, he looked really good. Pull up his last fight, if you can. I'm sorry, I don't have the setup to do that right now.
No, you're good. I'll be producer right here. His last fight was against. Oh, did I pull up Dominic? I pulled up Dominic Reyes'. Here we go. Thiago Santos. Maheta. Ankalaev.
Yeah.
And, I mean, he lost.
But it wasn't that. But it was a lot of people were like, damn, like, because he came off of that, like, crazy ass knee surgery, and Ankalaev was, like, fast tracked. He was like fast tracked to get to where he needs to get to the top, and he was kind of like they kind of like put him. I feel like they put him out there for Ankalaev to kind of style on him, and that's not how it went.
I think that's exactly what it was, because I remember a lot of people, even myself to some extent, being a little bit disappointed that, I mean, Ankalaev won a unanimous decision. I think he won every round, so it was like, it feels fucked up saying it, but like being too harsh, because he did dominate that fight. But Ankalaev, like, everyone, like, there was a lot of people who were ready to be like, well, with a win like this, Ankalaev could be next. You know, he could be a contender. And then suddenly everyone's like, well, maybe not. But I mean, in truth, we know.
I think it was more of Santos just being more game than a lot of people thought, and especially for coming off of that crazy ass like knee surgery that he had. It was dual knee surgery, right? Or was it both, or was it just the one?
Both knees were fucked.
Yeah.
The only person who's stopped him since he came back was Glover. He subbed him in the third round. But everything else has been decision losses. Well, no, see, he has a decision win over Johnny Walker.
Oh,
Talking about Johnny Walker.
Is it saying as much as like it used to be?
No, not at all. But I mean, hey, Usman gets rounds in with Justin Gaethje, though, man. Justin Gaethje hits hard. I mean, he's a lightweight, but he hits hard.
He wrestles with Chandler, and it looks really cool.
It's only 4 divisions apart from the division that he thinks he's going to go up to. But I mean, either way, though, I'd watch the hell out of that. I would be very, very intrigued by any matchup. Like if he actually puts the weight on and gets in there with a light heavyweight, I will be fucking front and center with my popcorn. Like, what are we doing?
I have a feeling that he won't have too much trouble putting that weight on. I think something will help him get that weight up quick, and he'll look insanely jacked. His acne will be wild if you're watching in 4K. I mean, he might have something pop. His shoulder acne pop. Right, it'll just be gone.
UFC on ABC 3, Ortega versus Rodriguez. We have a fun featherweight matchup here between Brian Ortega.
A big reason why he went to Trevor Whitman's camp was because while he was in ATT, or he was at ATT for a while, right?
Usman?
Was a lot of people. Yeah, right? Wasn't he?
I think he was training out in Florida, but I don't know if he was at ATT. But I'm not really sure.
But one of the gyms he was at was in. Remember when Alex Rodriguez got in a huge amount of trouble? What was it called out there in Florida?
Sanford.
Yeah, it was. Well, they're one of the gyms that was in it, but there was a huge. It was like mostly Major League Baseball oriented, but a bunch of guys from the Florida area got caught up in that huge scandal that Alex Rodriguez was in, as far as performance enhancing drugs, and so Kamaru kind of distanced himself from that whole thing, and that was around when Trevor. What was that? It was like Regeneron Health, or it was like a health center, and one of the doctors got caught up, was giving PEDs to A-Rod.
Oh, just to the whole team administering them. I don't know. I'd never heard about it.
Yeah. Cool story. Never heard. Cool story. Never heard of him.
No, I did hear about it actually. I heard about that with A-Rod and like the other athletes. I think I do remember there being like a big time bust where they got a lot of guys who were reducing. I never heard about Kamaru Usman being connected to that.
No, he was just in a gym where a lot of guys, because there was it was this idiot. He wasn't on the list or anything, but there was this guy that it was all messed up over. A doctor owed this guy $3,000, and he just goes, "What the fuck are you gonna do about it?" And he didn't realize that the guy had been writing down lists and stole a bunch of files from the doctor, and it had lists of all these high level athletes, and the guy just had it, and he's like all these crazy ass and not only just the list, but the substances they were taking, their schedule, their dosage schedules, everything, and he just had the whole crazy ass list, and he just turned it over to the feds. Dang. And so a lot of the fighters, and I don't know if they're there anymore or whatever, but there was a lot of fighters from the bigger gyms in Florida were on that list. And then that's around the time that Usman was okay, well, I'm gonna go over here now. So I don't know if he was just disgusted that they were doing that, or how dare his brothers do things that way. But
supplied by Biogenesis Inc.
Biogenesis, yes.
The Miami Herald. Interesting. Yeah. Oh man, there's a paywall. I was about to be a good little producer and bring up all the info to kind of validate everything that you were saying, but fucking paywall.
No, it's there. If you're listening to it, it's there. And he wasn't on any of that list. He wasn't on those lists or anything like that. He wasn't implicated, but that was around the time that. Yeah, he was around that gym a lot when they were going heavy with that Biogenesis sauce.
All right, we are recording again.
Oh,
No illusions as to what we had to stop recording for. But like to touch on what you were saying before we took our little break. Yeah, maybe when there's smoke, there's fire in regards to all of that stuff with the Biogenesis Inc. But I think it's time that we moved on to this next week's upcoming weekend's card, ABC 3, Ortega versus Rodriguez. This is going to be an early card. Let me see.
yeah.
11 a.m. Eastern. So we're going to be
Wow,
getting the
that's
fights.
wow.
Yeah, hecka early in the morning over here. Not super early, but it's going to be dope. I love an early card, dude. I really, really enjoy when they have early cards because you can
Yeah.
just, like, I don't know. And not even for the reason that a lot of people say that they enjoy early cards, because it's like, wow, finally I can geek out on fights and still do something with my Saturday night and, like, go out and
Oh,
stuff.
right. Yeah.
I'm
Because
not
then
going.
you just end up, like chilling at the house anyway.
Yeah, I'm probably not going anywhere. But I just, for some reason, I do enjoy, like, seeing, like, high level, like, main events midday. Like, I like seeing high level MMA
It's weird.
early in the day.
Yeah.
Something about it's a little bit off, but I dig it. It's kind of like when you, like, go to school at night for some bullshit, like being
Oh yeah,
at
yeah,
school at
yeah.
night. It's like a different thing. It's the
Right.
same place, but it's different. But yeah, this is a good fight. Brian Ortega versus Yair Rodriguez. Both guys coming off of a loss.
Yeah.
Yair Rodriguez coming off of his unanimous decision loss to Max Holloway last year, and Brian Ortega coming off of his unanimous decision loss to Alexander Volkanovski. So fresh off of challenging for the title, and Yair Rodriguez fresh off of challenging for a #1 contender fight against Max. So yeah, both guys coming off of losses, pretty evenly ranked. Very, very drastically different styles. Brian Ortega, of course, he's not one to shy away from a striking match, and his hands have gotten a lot better. Like
Oh yeah.
I was somebody who was definitely like, oh, Brian Ortega's boxing is trash after the Max Holloway fight. Like, I totally lost faith in him as a stand-up fighter, but he went away for a long time, and rightfully so, to kind of like lick his wounds a little bit, because he just got battered from bell to bell by Max Holloway.
Yeah.
And he came back and he looked much improved. Yair Rodriguez, we all know, everybody's been calling him a dynamo, and I kind of feel like everybody stole my word because I've been calling him a dynamo for a few years now.
Yeah.
But he has really, really great kicks, good all around striking, fantastic head movement. That's something that I've always like gushed about whenever I watch a Yair Rodriguez fight. I love how good his head movement is. And it's really good head movement for a guy who throws as many kicks as he does too, because normally you don't get both, where it's like either you're going to have like decent footwork and leg kicks, or you're going to have like good boxing and head movement, but it's hard to do both. It's hard to kind of like have good footwork and be like a very evasive movement and also have good head movement.
He gave Max a lot of problems. He gave Max problems. Like, he lost, but that wasn't like Max's best fight. And the two guys that are going up against are Yair and Brian. Like, it really wasn't like what you would call, or there's just a crazy juxtaposition is like their matchup against Max, where Brian was just, like you said, he was just fucking dominated from beginning to end. And Yair, I mean, he didn't really like scare anybody, but he definitely gave Max fits as far as like what he was doing, like you said, with his head movement and his defense.
It was definitely a fight where Max Holloway had to rely on his 4th and 5th round experience, because it did look very, very even. Like by the end of that first round, I was thinking to myself, like, okay, this is anybody's fight. Like, a lot of times I feel like I have a pretty good idea who's going to win the fight just by watching. All you need to see is the first round and be like, okay, are they going to bring this skill to the table? Are they actually going to employ this? And obviously, you need to see how a fighter's conditioning is going to hold up over the distance, especially if they're fighting 5 rounds. And that did seem like once the later rounds kicked in, that Max Holloway kind of just took it to that next gear and left him behind a bit. But how do you feel like this matchup between Ortega and Rodriguez plays out, though? How do you think that? Is it a styles make fights, or?
I feel like Ortega has the edge in this, like, for whatever weird reason. it's not going to be a heavy like wrestling grappling fight by any means. So, and like you said, Ortega's his striking. I mean, his striking against Frankie Edgar looked crazy, and I mean, and then he took Volkanovski, to like where he hadn't been taken in his career up until that point. So I feel like, but man, I've gone back and forth like since I knew we're more or less that we're going to talk about it. I would like to see Yair win just so that you can, because what he said was that he was promised a championship bout if he wins, which is like, how much is that really true?
Mm.
I mean, cool, that'd be great just to get Volk a fresh fight, fresh face in front of him so that he doesn't jump, let lightweight kind of shake itself out a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
between the time he fights and Yair, and it coming off of surgery, you don't want Volkanovski to come off of surgery and fight Charles Oliveira. So
Mm.
you'd probably want him to have, I guess it would be a tune-up fight, even though it'd be a championship, probably pay-per-view headliner. But so that would be cool to see that. But something tells me that Ortega takes it because I think something weird might happen, and Ortega's got more set up to where if it gets to the ground, he can keep it there and do something with it rather than just want to get up and strike again, which I feel like you would probably do want to do.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I disagree about the fact that it's going to play out like mostly as a striking fight. I don't actually think so. I think it definitely could because, like you mentioned, Brian Ortega isn't like, he's an aggressive grappler and he's a very, very, very active offensive grappler too. Like he is the type of person who's always going for submissions. He's not a position over submission guy. He is we're on the ground now. Okay, well, I need to strangle you or I need to break one of your limbs. Like he's a super offensive grappler. But it's easy to say like, well, once this goes to the ground, he's going to have the edge over Yair Rodriguez, and he definitely would. But it's about like how willing he is to engage to take it to the ground. And I don't like you said, I don't picture him shooting very often, but I feel like it's a fight that's going to end up on the ground still because
somehow,
I feel like that really aggressive offensive Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu style of Brian Ortega means that like he's going to, even if they're not on the ground, he's going to probably go for some kind of a front headlock series or something like that. If the opportunity presents itself. And I think, it's also going to depend on how much the gap in striking is evident when they are trading. If he finds himself outgunned against Yair Rodriguez, which is kind of hard to picture, but I think some of that extra evasive kind of like style of Yair Rodriguez might give Brian Ortega fits because a lot of people were giving, and myself included, were giving Brian Ortega credit for improving so much on his striking when he came back when he fought Chen Sung-jung, and that's not a guy who's really going to test your striking that much. I mean, he's going to stand and bang with you, and it's going to be a fun, entertaining fight. But Chen Sung-jung isn't going to bring much evasiveness. He's not really going to test your ability to move a target that's constantly moving, to hit a constantly moving target. And Yair Rodriguez will. So I have a feeling that Yair's going to test him in a few ways on the feet, and that might lead to some frustration. That might lead to Brian Ortega possibly, if he can't get it done with a single leg or something like that, which he might not be able to because Yair Rodriguez has really good takedown defense. I think he's going to do something like he's going to jump and pull guard or try to go for a standing guillotine, and in the scramble it might end up on the ground. And that's where I think it's going to get it done. So it's kind of a weird prediction.
Yeah.
Kind of predicting that Brian Ortega is not necessarily going to want to come out and be like, oh, I got to take it to the ground, but I still think it's going to end there. I agree with you about Brian Ortega having the edge in this fight. I would like to see Yair win it. I think I'm probably kind of rooting for Yair for the same reason that you said. Yeah, because I kind of want some new blood in the title picture. And even though Brian Ortega had that fight and gave Volkanovski his toughest fight in his title reign, so he's definitely going to get in there with him. I do feel like this is going to be one of those instances where it's like Yair loses this, it's going to be a little bit tougher for him because Yair's been in these situations where like if he would have beat Max Holloway, he was going to he was probably going to get a title fight off of that win.
It would have been him instead of Korean Zombie.
Yeah. Yeah, because Korean Zombie was a late replacement for Max Holloway. I mean, and they wouldn't have needed to do that if Yair had won. So yeah, like I said, just for the sake of variety, like you, I'm rooting for Yair. We're both picking Brian Ortega, and neither of us have an original bone in our body because we make the same picks all the time. I don't know what it is.
I mean, it's. I mean, we really been like out crazy like wrong? I mean, with Jared Cannonier we were, but it wasn't like we were like, oh, yeah, there's because I mean, even still, just to your point, sorry to go off track, but like it just to kind of like go off of like making the same picks. It's like there's nothing that Cannonier showed that it's not like he didn't deserve to be in the ring with them. Like that was like such a bad pick, but I get what you're saying though, and to kind of give you some kudos on how you broke that down. Like I think we came to the same conclusion, but like different work, I guess. You know what I mean? Like different equations to get to the same answer. But your logic is super sound, and like it really gives you something to think about. As far as like, man, if Yair's not on the spot when he's trying to throw a jab, or he's just not there when his punches are there, then is he gonna pull? Is he gonna try and pull like that Cub Swanson fucking, pull guard and fucking choke him out? Like a flying triangle or whatever it is. So. Or
Yair might throw some disrespectful Michel Pereira type spinning kick or something like that,
and then it falls,
and just totally miss, and Brian Ortega will close the distance and rush in and take his back while he's still standing, and like, Brian Ortega doesn't need to have you on the ground to threaten to use his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Yeah. So, yeah. Co-main event.
Logic,
in the co-main event, we have a strawweight matchup between Michelle Waterson and Amanda Lemos. Do you have? I can talk about this fight. I don't know if you have a breakdown for it, or if you want to make a pick.
I don't. I like Amanda Lemos. I like her. I like watching her fights. She's exciting, but
I like Amanda Lemos also. She was looking like a pretty good prospect at strawweight for a bit. She's coming off that embarrassing loss to Jessica Andrade, which is a fight that unfortunately didn't even get going.
Yeah, I would look embarrassed. I'm 6'2", over 200 pounds, and I would get embarrassed by that young lady. So I mean, there's nothing to scoff at.
Yeah. I think we talked about that fight. That was it might have been on a pay-per-view. Let me pull up her record because I know that fight happened like while we've been doing this podcast. Now, it was a fight night, so we didn't cover it on this show.
It was the standing. Was it the standing choke?
Standing arm triangle.
Yeah. That was. That looked like. How do you get over? That's just a scary person. She's just a scary person. So there's no. A lot of people would have a tough time with her. So.
Yeah, there's not really any shame in losing to Jessica Andrade, that's for sure, because Jessica Andrade has been a contender at 3 weight divisions, which I don't think there's been any other woman to do that. She's the only person with a win at bantamweight, flyweight, and strawweight, and she's been a strawweight champion. So extra reason to not be ashamed of that loss. It was just. It happened so fast in the fight, which is unfortunate, and I think that's the embarrassing part. Is like that she didn't even get a chance to get going, and with a standing triangle, and then there was that shot, like the camera guy was like right in her face,
right on top,
right at the right moment, and she was just like like
yeah.
But
that was a bully. That was like fucking. I think we talked about it. It was in the lead up to one, and we talked about it just like off point, but that was just bully. Like that was just.
It was some schoolyard shit, yeah. In this matchup between Lemos and Michelle Waterson, Amanda Lemos should win this fight, but I think that it could look a lot closer than most people were probably giving it credit for, because a lot of people have come to associate Amanda Lemos with having really, really heavy hands and being like just this bomber at strawweight, which she is, but I'm still a little held up on her split decision win over Angela Hill.
Yeah.
Angela Hill is not a fighter who I think very highly of at strawweight. It's just kind of like someone who's been sticking around in that strawweight top 10. It's kind of overstayed her welcome. She's a name that I brought up along with Michelle Watterson about like kind of this old guard of strawweight who I'm kind of waiting to go away. But Angela Hill surprised me in that fight with Amanda Lemos. And if I remember correctly, I don't think it was a split decision. It kind of could have gone either way. But in my head, I thought Amanda Lemos should have blown her out of the water.
Yeah, that's what I thought going into that one.
And she didn't. And I think what the problem is that Amanda Lemos, and I was rewatching a few of her fights like coming into this weekend, and she's looked really good against some of the lower level competition, and she looks like she has really good footwork. Like she's been like very bouncy on her feet. She moves laterally. She does well. She passes the eye test. It's like, oh yeah, she has good movement. But when she fought Angela Hill, I didn't see that, because Angela Hill, right, to her credit, has really good movement. She moves around laterally. Right. She does like a really good Dominic Cruz impersonation, actually. Mm-hmm. Like that's one of the few things that she's excels at, in my opinion. And that made Amanda Lemos go from someone who I thought looked like had good foot movement, and suddenly she's flat-footed because she's dealing with this moving target, and she was just having a lot of trouble with her. And I think it's like similar to what we saw with Yan Xiaonan and Marina Rodriguez, because Marina Rodriguez is also someone who's like looks like she has good footwork until she fights someone with good footwork, and then she looks a little perplexed. So to circle it back to Michelle Watterson, I think that's also one of the few things that she can actually do well. Is she can employ decent footwork. Will she do that? Will she stick with it? It's a 3-round fight, so she doesn't need to do it for 5 rounds. Now, I'm not saying that I think that's going to be the key, or I'm not predicting Michelle Watterson to win this fight, but I think if she knows the assignment and if she's picked up on that, I think that she can probably make Amanda Lemos look a lot more human than we're expecting with her movement, because once she Lemos, once she's presented with a constantly moving target, she becomes really flat-footed, and then she just kind of starts headhunting. And I want to see her use her kicks a lot more against Michelle Watterson, because Michelle Watterson has shown, like, despite the fact that she has like all these fancy kicks and she has like these Instagram videos where she'll have like someone standing right in front of her and she'll still kick over their head and stuff. She doesn't really
She doesn't check the leg kicks.
She doesn't check them very well, and she doesn't use leg kicks to much effect either. Aside for like, if she does use leg kicks, it's kind of for distance management, sort of. Like, she's not putting any pop on them. And I'm big time like, hey, we should count leg kicks more, like leg kicks and body kicks. Like Arman Sarukian, those body kicks weren't really were being severely discounted by the judges. But in Michelle Watterson's case, I feel like they're not.
She's not throwing like all the Uriah Faber leg kicks.
No,
let's just say that.
No. So like you said, also another instance where I'm agreeing with you, but I do think that Michelle Watterson could make this an uglier fight than it has any right to be. It's at the end of the day, it's Amanda Lemos' fight to lose. I would hope that she's improved and has worked on that footwork, and she didn't really take any damage from that Jessica Andrade fight, so I'm assuming that she's healthy, and I think it should be a decent strawweight co-main event. It's not bad, not as bad as a lot of people would expect when they see that there's a WMMA co-main event. Yeah,
and I think a lot of people or at least what I've heard or read up to this point is like, well, of course they're going to put WMMA if it's going to be on ABC, and they want it to be more inclusive for this. I think it's like you said, it's a sneaky. It could end up being a sneaky good fight, and I think they're setting it up for Lemos to kind of like, they set their fighters up to style in matchups for a certain reason in this spot coming up. And I think that's probably what they're expecting. Or at least I can see how the matchmakers put this together for that.
I actually don't think it'll be a good fight. I should correct you. I think it would be a closer fight.
Please correct me.
I think it'll be a closer fight than some people are giving credit for. But I don't necessarily think it'll be a good fight, actually.
Yeah. Do you think
Uh,
it'll be a snooze one or a snoozer or?
I think it'll be a decision. Um,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I don't know. Like, let me take a look at
Yeah.
Michelle Waterson's record again because I forgot to look up how many losses she has by KO or TKO. So she's only been finished by KO or TKO once. So I think, yeah, I think a moving target and a girl who's not going to go away very easily. I think that's enough to like make Amanda Lemos look human.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
okay.
I would love an Amanda Lemos classic fucking 115-pound knockout. And I think that might be the problem too
Yeah.
with girls like her and Marina Rodriguez is like they have power in a division where the girls traditionally don't.
Right.
And I think they've come to rely on that a bit more than they should.
Right.
You know,
It's a good point.
yeah.
I can appreciate that point. Yeah.
This is a fight that we mentioned earlier. The Leech, Li Zhengliang versus Muslim Salikov. Do you have a prediction for this fight, Brandon?
I think that uh, the Leech is gonna take this one. I think he's coming off. He's coming off. He's like up and he's been up and down. He was in the stratosphere for a while. Like he was like a hot prospect up until he was he wasn't. Unfortunately, he got handled pretty well. But
Got
no,
crushed by
I
Hamzat
think
Shemaev.
yeah, which like it happens. Um, yeah, I think I'm taking him. I'm not too too familiar with Muslims, so I'm not quite sure where that's going to go. So like I don't really know the match because I've seen the Leech a lot more of him than I have the other gentleman there. So
Same here. Yeah, I'm not super familiar with Muslim Salikov. I'm not very high on Li Jingliang, but he's a solid welterweight player. He has a pretty
yeah,
respectable win over Santiago Ponzinibbio,
yeah.
which was by finish also, and a
Which is
pretty
when he had it, it was.
mm,
Now you look at it, it's not so much.
not as much.
Hans is kind of on the way out.
But yeah, his two recent losses, and not consecutive, but is that loss to Shemaev. Before that was the win over Ponzinibbio, and before that was a unanimous decision loss to Neil Magny, which there's no shame in that either.
Yeah,
Neil Magny's a tough fight out, especially if he has height and reach advantage over you. He knows how to make it just an ugly fight. But yeah, I looked up some of Muslim Selikov's fights, and there's a really hilarious highlight video of him where if you pull it up and
hmm
literally like the first 2 minutes is just all him throwing crazy spinning back kicks and whiffing on almost
yeah,
all of them. And it's
yeah,
like to the person who edited this video, like I get it. The dude loves to throw spinning back kicks, but if he's not
yeah,
landing them, they can go in the chopping block, man. Like we don't
yeah.
we don't need to see the ones that don't land. Because that actually made me think a little bit less of him. I'm gonna disagree though. I think Muslim Salikov should take it. He has a record of 18-2, and let me pull up his record. I peeked at it earlier, but I think his upward trajectory is good. His last win was over Francisco Trinaldo, but he's been out for a little bit. He hasn't
Nah,
fought in a year. That was in June of last year for Francisco Trinaldo. But he's fighting. He's riding a 5-fight winning streak with his last loss coming to Alex Garcia by rear naked choke in 2017. Yeah, a little bit of a shot in the dark, but I'll go Muslim here just for
okay.
parity.
Just to spice it up.
I don't know a whole lot about the Matt Schnell Suma Daerji fight, so we don't have to
Schnell's
cover
a
that
damn good fighter. Schnell's a damn good fighter. I know that much.
flyweight fight. 17 versus 13th ranked Suma Daerji. I guess I should say I don't know a ton about Suma Daerji, but yeah,
Yeah.
I don't really have much of a breakdown for that fight. Shane Burgos, Charles Jourdain. We mentioned this one at the top of the episode.
Oh
I
yeah.
said banger
Oh yeah.
alert, and I think that is true.
Yeah.
I didn't give a pick for it, although I'm leaning towards Charles Jourdain. Might just
Yeah.
literally be an instance where I've seen Shane Burgos in more wars, and
Yeah.
I tend to think that like after a while that damage, like some people are different, and some people just wear damage very, very well. But Yeah, I'll be leaning towards Charles Jourdain. He seems to have a little bit more of a sense of self-preservation than Shane Burgos does.
Yeah, yeah. Shane
So,
Burgos is so fucking wild. I just anytime I like you scan the cards, and then it's just like you stop right there, and you're like, oh, like okay, that's gonna be. Yeah, I'll just remember to be around when that one's on.
yeah, Shane Burgos is part Tasmanian devil. He's crazy.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting one that I could talk about a little bit too. Not at length. I'm not going to give it like a crazy long breakdown, but more
Yeah.
for the audacity
Okay.
of Misha Tate specifically. We have Lauren Murphy versus
Yeah.
Misha Tate. This
Yeah.
is right before the main card. This is like the prelim main event. Misha Tate is 1-1 since coming out of retirement last year, and those wins over. Let this load up. She has a loss to Ketlin Vieira. Yeah, it's Ketlin Vieira. And then she had a really gimme win over Marion Renault. That fight was, both of those fights were still at bantamweight, and this is her first fight in the UFC at flyweight. So she's changing weight divisions, and she's fighting Lauren Murphy, who her most recent fight was challenging Valentina Shevchenko for the title, in which she got finished. Lauren Murphy didn't do very well, but
Yeah.
Misha Tate is convinced that with a win over this fight, there is nobody else for Valentina Shevchenko. Clearly, Misha
Yeah.
Tate must challenge for the title at flyweight. Does your bullshit meter, is it going off like crazy?
When I heard that, I was like, well, I mean, you're not wrong, but you're definitely like it wouldn't. I don't think it would be her to be the person to, and then that like the word that you use, audacity, is very fitting for this situation. Like you, if you beat someone that the champ just finished, or the champ had finished off, and then you expect, well, I'm just going to cut the line and I should do it just based off my name alone, which I guess in WMA can get you, and especially in that division where Misha Tate versus Valentina Shevchenko would, I guess it would pop on a poster, but I don't think I think you're right to say like the bullshit meter's kind of running hot on that one right there.
Yeah, man, I'm really upset with Misha Tate. This is dumb. It's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
I get it though. She is a former champion at a higher division. So there's that intrigue that's like the UFC will get a fucking semi chub just being able to say someone's a former champion. But she has not looked good in her fights, in her returning fights. I mean, Marion Renault was over 40 when they fought. Marion Renault, she was long past her prime. And then, of course, she has that loss to Caitlin Vera. So, for me, a win over Lauren Murphy, I don't care if she just fought for, a challenge for the title. It wasn't impressive. We've seen other girls give Valentina Shevchenko tougher fights than what Lauren Murphy was able to do.
Yeah, the most recent one against her was...
Yeah. And, I mean, I am saying, like, the audacity of it. I'm like, well, part of it also is like, no, because Manon Fiorot is going to fight Jessica Andrade in a few weeks. And that winner, and the winner of that fight, maybe not Jessica Andrade, because she straight up said, "Nah, I'm gonna go back to strawweight." Like Jessica Andrade is the boogie woman, like legit, because she's like you can't escape her. She'll move around any weight division. So I don't think they'll necessarily be looking to give a title fight to Jessica Andrade if she wins there, because she also challenged Valentina Shevchenko somewhat recently and was blown out of the water by her. But if Manon Fiorot wins that fight, it's Manon Fiorot's title shot. I'm not confident that they will do that. If both Misha Tate and Manon Fiorot win, I'm a little bit worried that they will go with this Misha Tate bullshit. But to me, the silver lining is that even though I think Manon Fiorot would deserve it with a win over Jessica Andrade, I don't think she's ready. I mean, she would probably never say that. Any fighter would, given the opportunity, is going to go like, yeah, give me the fucking title shot. I'm ready whenever. But I think I would want to see the best version of Manon Fiorot fight Valentina Shevchenko. And if that means that she has to wait a little bit longer and fight another top 5 flyweight, that's not necessarily a bad thing. Also, I mean, I guess I would like... Valentina Shevchenko, for as dominant as she is, not every fight of hers is the Jessica I knockout. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
like it would be fun to see her like straight up shellac Misha Tate, because
Misha Tate.
I
Yeah,
think that's what would
palate
happen.
cleanser.
Yeah, I think that would be a lamb
She
to
kind of needs
slaughter.
that. She kind of needs that too.
In her
She was
prime,
hella like trying to make her sister into like mold her. You could tell she's just like trying to mold her sister into a better fighter. It's just not fucking working.
no. Her sister barely won that fight too. Like a lot
Yeah,
of people were saying, like, oh, she should have lost. I had her winning, but just barely.
yeah,
That was another instance where I was like, this is the most Antonina Shevchenko fight ever. Like,
yeah.
because she's just looks okay until the wheels fall off. And I feel like I've seen that over and over. I'm always I'm more interested in watching, listening to Valentina Shevchenko like yell obscenities from cage side.
Yeah,
She gets like
yeah,
crazy into it. She's like a
yeah.
crazy like silent assassin when she fights, but when her sister's fighting, she's like going nuts
She's
cage side.
very going. Yeah, she's going crazy.
Yeah. So for to give a prediction, I think Lauren Murphy should take this fight. I think
I think so too.
she's not
Big call.
as well rounded as Misha Tate, and she's not exactly a fucking spring chicken either. Lauren Murphy is like a little bit older. She's one of the. Let me pull up her page. I want to see how old she is now. Now I'm because I think I'm gonna be surprised if she's actually older than. Okay,
Yeah,
Lauren Murphy, 38. Misha Tate.
yeah.
It's like they're probably the same age now that I look at it. Misha Tate's younger. She's 35. So, okay.
Oh shit.
I'm still picking Lauren Murphy though. I
Yeah,
think she's just the fresher fighter. She's been more active. She looks a bit more capable. For my taste, she looks more capable on the feet. And Misha Tate's wrestling, she hasn't really shown that she still has it, like her grappling, which was her bread and
yeah.
butter before. And then it'll be an instance where I think we'll find out real fast if that's going to work out for Misha Tate. But she's sporting a record of 19-8 right now. And I don't know, man. Like we said, if we want to see an ass kicking, sure. If Misha Tate wins,
Yeah.
give her the title shot. Fuck it, let's do it. Just bleed.
I think they might just. I think they might just do that. Like it might not be the co-main or feature fight, but just like, hey, we got our third championship fight on this card. It'll be on the Adesanya card where they have to like kind of like stack it, and they might just put it up there and be like, hey, you want to see some? You want to see some shit? Check this out.
You want to see a dead body? I like how you mentioned that too. Like
Yeah.
they put it on an Adesanya card because he needs the help.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Am I wrong? I wish I was wrong.
Let's see. One thing I didn't ask you about earlier, and I hate to jump around because it's literally from the
No,
card
that's fine.
we talked about earlier, the Fiziev RDA thing, but I forgot to ask you what you thought about Fiziev's call out of not Rafael Nadal, but Justin Gaethje. So he called out Nadal in the cage, but in the post-fight presser, he said he wants to fight Justin Gaethje.
He's gonna get Dariush. I think that's a little too convenient for the UFC. He's gonna get Dariush. I think that's just too convenient. I don't think that's a fight. Gaethje. I don't know where Justin Gaethje's mind is. I don't know if he wants a guy like Fiziev where it's such a that's an explosive situation for anyone who's gonna have to take him. And for where Justin Gaethje's like, he does not want to be on the other end of a like psycho head kick, and then like that's your career, dog. Thanks for coming out. You're a great run. I appreciate you, but like, see you on down the road. Like that's where it could go with if he fights Fiziev, and I think he wants to hang around at the top and take some low. That's definitely not low hanging fruit. So I think the UFC kind of got done a solid where Fiziev will be there for Dariush, and then Makhachev and Charles can fight it out. And I think that's where it ended up going. But I think he's very smart to call Gaethje out because that would be a highlight, like a human highlight reel for him. And Gaethje's just hot enough to where that could like make Fiziev look like, okay, this is the guy that's going to fight Makhachev or Charles or whoever's there at the time. So
True. Poor Neil Dariush, man, because I feel like every time one of these lightweight hot shots like wins a big fight, everyone's like, well, he should get a top 5 next. Who's it going to be? They're probably going to give him Dariush, like, because everybody was saying the same thing about Gamrot too. They're like, nah, man, now that he got this win over Saryukian, like, who's going to be next? I think he also called out Justin Gaethje, and I like a lot of people's responses the same. It's like, yeah, that'd be a nice fight, but you're gonna get Beneil Dariush, and it's like fucking.
And you're gonna
Beneil,
fucking like it, dude. Yeah. They just he. I mean, and good for him because he's not giving it an easy. He's not in. It's not. There's a lot of guys and a lot like RDA was ranked super high, but everybody kind of knew like that was bullshit. Like, and he's kind of sitting on that ranking, to where Dariush is like, no, he's winning. And he's won convincingly, and he's put together. It's not his fault that he hasn't been as active as he wants to be. He's hurt, so yeah, he's kind of getting tossed. But he's also in that division. If he was in middleweight, like we were talking about, if he was a middleweight and he had the type of heat that he had on him, it wouldn't be as mean to say what we're saying about him. Whereas they're just fucking. He's in a fucking. He's one of them, but he's in a Shark Tank. And it's just kind of like, fuck, that one shark looks like he's got a little hitch in his skittle on there. Like, let's just get rid of him. So.
And it's like, and I have an open wound too, so he's gonna smell the blood. I just hope that they learn from the problem we're having with Makhachev right now, because I think a lot of people, ever since Volkanovski mentioned, and we talked about this a little bit, in the last episode, but ever since Volkanovski mentioned going up, a lot of people, a lot of the polls that I've been seeing online are like split right down the middle. Like, who should Charles fight next? Should he fight Muslim or Islam Makhachev, or should he fight Volkanovski? And I'm surprising amount of people are like, yeah, fuck it, let's do Volkanovski right now. Let's do Volkanovski. And I'm in the no, let's do Islam first and then Volkanovski. And I'm pretty sure I mentioned that last time. And the biggest argument against that I've been seeing is that, like, well, how are you going to say that Islam Makhachev deserves that title shot now when his best win in the division, or his highest ranked win, was Hooker? And that's a fair that's a fair argument, but it's not because it's because Chandler, Poirier, Gaethje aren't fighting these guys. It's like he's broke into the top 5, and these other dudes, these like 3-piece guys who are all feeding off of the Dana White privilege, just refuse to fight any other contenders, and they just want to have bangers against each other. So it's like Islam would have fought those guys, no problem.
Yeah, he wouldn't have backed down from it.
Yeah, he's been calling out those guys plenty. Like, and they don't give him those fights. And I'm not going to say those guys are protected, but they're very careful with the guys that they match them up with, because they want to maximize profits. Those are 3 guys in the same division.
Islam, they're not going to fight Fiziev. If they weren't going to fight Islam, because that's a way worse matchup. I maybe not worse, but I just think it could look a lot worse for them than, because Islam might have been like, well, he just wrestle fucked me.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want me to do? Whereas Fiziev will just, like, RDA's. Goddamn, like that look wild.
Yeah, Islam, you
5th round knockout.
Yeah, with Islam, you just call him a crotch sniffer and you go about your day.
Yeah,
and all the casuals will be like, yeah, that's right. But Fiziev will want to come in to piece you up and make it violent, which should be an easy fight to sell, because Justin Gaethje is all about, I create car crashes and shit like that. It's like, well, this guy's a car.
He definitely is a card.
I've seen it. Any other current events or topics or anything popping up in the world of mixed martial arts that you want to talk about, unrelated to either of the cards that we've discussed?
No, not really. I mean, Nate, you talked about, just with me, Nate Diaz kind of being delusional on the MMA Hour, saying,
that's right.
Hey, they don't want to give me the fight. They don't want to give me the exact fight I want for the money that I want, and I just want to leave. It's like, oh man,
it's pretty frustrating coming from somebody who is rooting for Nate in this scenario. It's
Right.
like, I want Nate to get, he wants out. Like, I don't want anybody to be like stuck in a company that they don't want to be in. Like, uh,
Yeah.
he can go make a
Where's he
bet.
gonna go? Does he really want to go to? Where does he want to go? Or he just doesn't want to fight anymore?
I can't say for sure. I don't
Yeah.
really know. But I would
PFL.
totally.
I could see him go PFL. Maybe.
I think he just wants to get a Paul fight with either the Paul brothers and just
Oh
make his
yeah.
money and ride into the sunset. But I'm not sure. I would. That's
Yeah.
just what I would. That's where I would put my money. Gun to my head. I would just assume that he wants to get set up in one of those fights, and he definitely fits the profile of a guy who Logan Paul would fight. I mean, or Jake
Yeah.
Paul, or whichever one it is, because he's past his prime. He's a lot smaller than him, and he's marketable. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So Jake Paul wouldn't have to do all the heavy lifting, like as far as like selling the fight. So I think he would definitely be one of those dudes who's on the short list of guys that Jake Paul would actually agree to fight from the MMA world,
Yeah.
anyways. But that's like I said, totally an assumption. I don't really know, but yeah, my frustration was like he had that interview with Ariel on the MMA Hour, and I think that was either this morning or last night. I think it was this morning.
It was this morning Tuesday.
And he's kind of been sticking to the same script. That it's like, yo, I just want out. I want out of my contract. Let me go. Let me free. I don't care. Just give me a fight already. But I don't want to fight just anybody or someone ranked behind me. I want to fight only the top guys who've done the best. And then he mentions Francis Ngannou and Israel Adesanya. And it's like, bro, like if you really want out of the UFC that bad, if you only have one fight left, you just need to literally walk in the cage. Sign anything. Like, don't even look at the name. Any bout agreement that comes to you, like via email, fax, I don't know how the fuck they send them. Just don't even look at the name, dude. Just look at the date and what weight you need to be and sign. Like, stop with this negotiation about like who you're willing to fight if your main goal is getting out of the UFC. And also, like, shit. He might lose some fans. And I don't know if I mentioned this to you back in the day when he first started talking about how he just wants out so bad. Like, he should just sign to fight anybody, because they're going to give him a nightmare matchup or somebody who they're hoping is going to starch him on the way out. Go in there and then literally submit, or like just call it off and walk out. Who was the instant that gave us that idea recently where it kind of happened where I don't remember what the instance was, but there was
pull a Bob Sapp and just be like, I'm done.
Yeah, I forfeit. As soon as the bell rings, like, nope, white flag, I'm out of here. Bye-bye, UFC. That's all I had to do anyways. Showed up, bell rang, it goes down to my record as a loss. I'm beyond.
They would sue his ass. I guarantee you there's a fucking, like, some type of clause, like a competitive clause. Like, you have to at least, like, fucking... They would withhold his purse, I guarantee you.
I think
every bit of it.
I think there definitely would be a clause after this, after they learn their lesson.
The Nate Diaz rule.
Yeah, because I don't think it's ever happened before that I know of.
And then
but you're probably right, though.
His brother's planning to fight too, right?
Nick is not officially like out. I think he has mentioned that he does want another fight. I don't remember who or at what weight class, but I mean, we were shitting on middleweight before. I think there's a decent enough fight that they could find for Nick Diaz to happen somewhere around the 15 to 25 ranked area. Your boy John Jones said that he wants Stipe Miocic. He thinks that's the more marketable fight. He doesn't really think that there's much money to be made fighting Francis Ngannou.
I think that's true, as weird as it sounds.
Interesting.
I think that's true. I'm not sure if he's thinking. I think he's kind of doing like he's taking, or his point is being made, and it'll be a better fight. I don't think Francis Ngannou is going to engage with John as much as Stipe would be comfortable engaging with John, because I don't think Stipe would be worried about getting put on the ground, or if it got to the ground, I don't think he would really worry. Okay, he grappled Cyril Gane, but does he really want to grapple against John Jones?
Mm-hmm.
You know, with John Jones with something to prove, like, nah, he doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he's kind of thinking like this would be a better fight for me, just because Stipe would be willing to make. He wants to come out. He doesn't want to come out and have it be like a Israel Adesanya fight where they're kind of tapping and he's leg kicking and he's trying to like, come on, engage with me, engage with me. Where Ngannou's just going to want to wait, counter, and catch him with a lucky one. Where Stipe's will fight anywhere, anywhere in that ring. Every inch of that cage he's going to want to fight. So I think it's a better fight. I would rather see him fight Stipe right off the bat. I'd watch both of them, but
Yeah.
I'd rather see him see. I want to see how he does against Stipe too. Like if all that weight gain, because Stipe is going to want to wrestle with him. He's going to want to clinch with him. I'm sure he's going to want to keep it as close as possible. So we'll see if it's functional. His weight gain is functional. So.
That's an interesting point, and I do think you make a good point. Like Stipe does have enough wrestling competency to make it a little bit more even in that area. I mean, even though Francis is a lot bigger, and it might not even be a lot, but he's bigger than Stipe. I'm really curious to see what that looks like with Francis and John Jones face to face. Like, see what the size difference really is, because we know that John Jones is yoked right now. So I don't expect the size difference to be that much. I'm pretty sure they're probably similar in height. But with Stipe, I think he's not like he's a really, really good test. Like probably one of the best like welcome to the heavyweight division like tests for John Jones, especially since John Jones is kind of like the lineal like uncrowned light heavyweight champion still, despite the fact that he hasn't fought in like over 2 years. I think that shine's never gone away. Everybody's still expecting John Jones to be the guy when he comes back, despite the fact that we're probably not expecting him to look like an absolute world beater, because the last time he took an extended time off, he didn't look amazing coming back either. But like Stipe, I do believe, like you said, like I'm going to make you feel what it feels like to fight a heavyweight. Like, I feel like he's going to do that to him. He'll want to put him on the cage, because I don't think he would necessarily have I don't think Stipe would have much of an edge on the stand-up, because John is so good at fighting long, and he will still have the reach advantage in that scenario. And I think that's probably, I would venture to guess that that's probably something that John's also still like focusing a lot on, because he's a guy who's always had the wrestling advantage. So we know that he worked really and he's always had height and reach advantage over most of the guys that he's fought also. So he figured like, okay, I already have the wrestling in the pocket, so let me work on my striking and learn how to fight long and effectively, and not come out here and waste my natural God-given talents getting into these brawls in the pocket with any of these guys. And I have to assume he's smart enough to know that he also should double down on that and not want to do that with heavyweights, because for me, more casually, like I think the Francis Ngannou fight sells better. Like I think people would line up for that fight more than the Stipe fight, because I agree with you that Stipe would be a more competitive fight. I just think that the fact that John Jones has never been knocked out, he's never even been rocked. Like people, myself included, want to see what it looks like if Francis Ngannou touches him. I think that's the big selling point.
The thing is, I just don't think Francis is even gonna like want to engage unless it's like in a more of a counter punch type thing. I think he's not going to try and walk down John Jones. And also, I think the reason for calling out Stipe too is because John's going to go for pay-per-view points, or he's going to deserve it. I'm sure it's going to be part of his deal that he gets. Francis, the UFC is not going to do Francis Ngannou any favors as far as stacking that card, and they're going to make it like a standalone, like heavyweight fight, and then they probably wouldn't put another title. Whereas if it's John Jones and Stipe, it would probably be they're going to put bigger name fights they're gonna put bigger people on that, and it's going to it's going to draw more eyes from other matchups on that card than where if it's Stipe, or I'm sorry, if it's John and Francis, I think that would be the more standalone. Like that card would be centered around that fight alone. Whereas I think the UFC is going to want to do that. They're like, oh, you want Tyson Fury money? Well, Tyson Fury doesn't fight under with 3 cards underneath him, so or 3 championship fights underneath him like your boy Izzy does. So yeah, you can carry that kind of water. Then let's see it. We're giving you John Jones. Can you make them? And then so I think John's playing it from that perspective too. Is where if I fight Stipe, they're gonna pad the card. Where if I fight Francis right off the bat, who knows when that is, and they're not gonna do Francis any. That's more of a fuck Francis type of deal. And he doesn't have as much leverage. I don't think John would have as much leverage or perceivably have much leverage as far as, who would be or building that card up or, whereas I can see like Connor being on the card with John and Stipe, where I don't think they'd put Connor on a card with Francis.
No, yeah, I agree. That would be a waste. I mean, it wouldn't be a waste. They'd make their fucking money. But like you said, I think we both kind of I think we're both kind of predicting that they will try and do what they can to kind of stack the numbers against them. Well, Francis Ngannou specifically, because the last time Francis Ngannou was like really talking about or coming off of his fight with Cyril Gane, as far as we know, Francis Ngannou was talking like he never wants to fight for the UFC again. So like I get that too. That's another reason why it's smart for John to talk about Steve, because we don't really even know what Francis wants to do. Like it's Francis,
and it's just smart. Like, hey, I'll play ball with you guys. Like I want to fight. You know what I mean? Because he could, if he really wanted to be, because that would just fuck the UFC over. Where it's like, no, I want to fight Francis, make it happen, and they're like, well, this fool doesn't want to fucking make it happen though, and so. And then it would give Francis more leverage. Oh, your GOAT wants to fight me, guys. Like, what's going on? What's going on here? Whereas I think John's being a little more of a company man here, where they've done it for him. So I think he's kind of towing the line for them right now. So
plus, the last time these guys were in talks to fight each other, potentially John and Francis, they both played hardball and talked. And basically negotiated themselves out of that fight. Like both dudes were instantly like I think John Jones was the first one that was like, no, I want to get like I forgot what boxer he was talking about, and it's like, I want big money. We're talking like, don't even, my phone better not ring unless you're ready like to give me at least 15 million. And of course Francis was like, okay, well yeah, I want that too. There's no way that I'm going to let you guys give in to his demands publicly on Twitter and then just sit here and be the get paid less when I'm like the champion. Well, I don't think was he the champion at the time? I think he might have been already. So yeah, like I think it might be another smart play by the UFC, because they're going to have to kind of see, it's like, well, are you even going to come back if you take a loss to Stipe? Like what's your long-term deal? Like I need to know that you're going to play ball before we like put you in a position to negotiate for that huge fight again. Because like I said, I still think on paper, for the casual fan, John Francis is still the bigger selling fight. It's maybe not the fight that makes as much sense or will be as competitive on paper, but I think that just this guy's never lost and this guy obliterates anybody that he touches. Just that dynamic, I think, is a lot for people and for me too. Like I want to see John tested, but like you said, John will know the assignment, and I kind of think that that fight goes straight to the ground or straight to the cage.
They're thinking John Cyril. They're gonna pump Cyril Gane up more, and I think rightfully so. That guy just needs to get a few wins under his belt. I think that's what they really, really want. Like one of John's last fights for the promotion would be against Cyril Gane, when Cyril wins, and kind of like, oh man. Then they can ride him out. I think they really want to ride Cyril Gane out into like this, heavyweight champion storyline. I think that's what they would really, or what they're angling for. If I had to guess, like down the road, 4 or 5 fights down the road.
I think they're investing in Cyril Gane. Yeah, I mean they're about to have that card in Paris. that he's going to be headlining against Taito Iwasa. So, and that's a fight that is like tailor made for him to style on Taito Iwasa at home in front of a Paris crowd. I think that's going to be a big one. I think that's going to be like the test too. It's like, okay, we want to see how ravenous these fans are for you in your home country, and it's going to help us decide if we're going to put all our chips on you and kind of make you or decide that you're likely going to be the future of this division. Because regardless of whatever happens with John and Francis, I don't think either are long for the company. And that's just me taking them at their word. Francis literally less than a year ago saying, I'm done. I just have to wait a year and I'm out of my contract. So like there's a chance we don't even see Francis ever fight for the UFC again. I kind of hope that's the case in a way, because I'm sick of dudes like making these threats and then never following, like never even getting close to following through.
350K.
Yes, just folding, not even getting close to what you want. I kind of want somebody to stick to their guns, and I think that would be an interesting one too. I don't think that fight with Tyson Fury ever actually happens. That might go down as one of the biggest honey dicks in all of combat sports. It's like, is Tyson Fury luring Francis Ngannou away from his heavyweight championship and his like place inside the UFC, and then not even giving him that fight, literally just using him to keep his name in the headlines. I guess I don't know. Maybe it does happen. Maybe I'm giving Tyson Fury a little bit too much credit, like as far as like what he's willing to do promotion wise.
Why would he do that?
A mixed rules fight too. It's never going to fucking happen. Like, I don't know, man. That's bad. I think it was like him trying to give Francis Ngannou this fake bargaining chip with the UFC to be like, all right, like you see, even this guy said,
I guarantee you somewhere down the line management's crossed, man, because they're European, right? Francis is from France, and then the Gypsy King's from the UK, so I guarantee you, like somewhere down the line, their promotional or their management team is somehow, one guy owes the other one the favor. And they're just kind of like doing the guys, hey, remember I did that shit for you? Help my boy out here a little bit. Maybe say his name in the press for me. Awesome, thanks, guys. And then it goes away.
I mean, whatever it is that's facilitating that or what brought them to that, like maybe potentially unspoken agreement, I think you're right. I think it's more a favor that Tyson Fury is doing to Francis Ngannou, so that Francis can go to the UFC brass and say, hey, look, you either pay me this much or I'm gone, and I'm going to make this much out here with Tyson Fury in this ridiculous.
But I think he's wherever he's at right now. He's like, I got him, and then Dana's like, I don't give a fuck.
I just gave $250,000 to one of the Nelk boys. Yeah, you don't got me. Yeah.
You think? Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Get the fuck out of That's just scandalous. That's just fucking scandalous. We could go on for days about that. Like that whole Nelk situation is just scummy, dude. You need to shout when you really hear about like how those guys, like how the sausage is made with those guys. That shit is fucking scumbag, dude.
I didn't know anything about them before this. I mean, I knew that like Colby Covington was homies with them, so I already kind of like that painted a picture of like what kind of people the Nelk boys are, but I didn't actually know what kind of industry they came from, where they got their money or their fame or anything. Like, what's their deal?
They originally got it from like one dude would drink a whole bottle of wine or like a whole bottle of Jack Daniels in like a chug. Like he would chug a whole bottle of Jack Daniels, or he would chug like a crazy amount of alcohol and not die. It was like his claim to fame. Another guy,
it's like Shoe Nice.
Yeah.
You ever watch Shoe Nice?
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. From
Poor
like the
Shoe Nice
H3 podcast.
He did that shit like weekly, and he didn't make no fucking millions of dollars.
No, well, and then another guy, like, you ever see those videos on Instagram where like he goes up to the guy in Walmart and like he like moans in his ear, he's like, ah. And the guy like gets all like mad. That's like one of the dudes, and then
that's one of the Nelk boys.
Yeah,
okay.
And they do they have that Full Sin podcast, but how they make their money is like, and then they're one of those too, like where they do like, there's, what was it called? It's like something about like wizard something, where it's like, excuse me, just one quick second.
Mm-hmm. Notifications. Oh. Brandon's coughing for anybody who's just listening.
But where it's like these like they're involved in these like crazy ass raffles where it's like you could win a Lamborghini, you just pay $15, but they get like 400,000 people to pay $15 into a raffle for like a used up ass leased out Lamborghini that, oh yeah, okay, just give it to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
But they make an insane amount of money. They did this thing where it was called like the big scam that we're just finishing up right now is the NFT scam where they had like I don't know what it was. It was like a card. There was no fucking thought that went into it at all. It was like an access card. It was like, oh, buy this NFT. It was this NFT project, and then they just screwed the fuck out of everybody that bought one. They put it out to market. They made like millions and millions of dollars for literally like, what was it, like a SIM pass or like it looked like a bus pass. There was nothing behind it. It's like, oh, you can come party with us if you own this NFT and blah blah. Just scammed everybody with that. And then where they really make their money is they have a casino that is based in is it Curacao, and it's run off of cryptocurrency, and they use
a crypto casino.
A crypto casino, yeah.
Oh wow,
so
that's so scandalous.
Their main way of like advertising is they find Twitch streamers, so guys that play Fortnite or guys that literally like guys that play Fortnite or Modern Warfare, and they're teen boys who would their parents go, okay, Mom, I need my $14 a month access to Xbox Live, like I need your credit card for it. So they have and then they go, hey guys, like you can come over here to our crypto, and then they show the Twitch streamers take a time out and they're like, oh, I'm gonna play blackjack, and then it's like it's completely fucking rigged to where it looks like they're winning, like these like hundreds of thousands, $300,000 hands, and they're like, look how much I won. I just won like $250,000, but they're playing with like fake money because that casino is giving them this money.
Yeah.
They're not actually getting the wins. They're not getting the losses. They're making money off of use my promo code. And so how many promo codes sign up on that? And then because of where they are and where that company is based out of, it's an online cryptocurrency casino. It's impossible to manage like how old these people are, or where the money's going, or where it's coming from. So you have these kids that play video games that are online all the time, using their parents' credit card to go on here and play. And then the dealers, because they have live action dealers, like there's like these crazy ass fucking videos of these dealers like passing out. Like they're these like females, like these like Eastern European, like Ukrainian ballet dancers. Like,
the fuck? So it's an online casino, but they actually have someone there on cameras like dealing cards and stuff.
They have to because because it's already shady as fuck anyway. So it's like a computer screen, like where it's like these cards just fucking going hella fast, and then you're just like, I just lost $1,000. Like that doesn't even look real. So I guess their thing is it looks better if it's like a real human doing it. And then it's not each casino doesn't have their own dealers, like because it's offshore, they like use this company that facilitates these dealers, and it's these like strung out looking chicks, and like there's videos of these chicks online, like one's dealing and then one just passes out all crazy like she's drugged, and then you see the other chicks in the back like who are on webcam are like panicking, and then some guy just runs in and like yells at all the like dealers, like, you fucking do what you're supposed to do, and they like drag the chick out, and then another one they just like, because they're on like a fucking computer chair, and then they just drag them out and like wheel another one in front of them, and it looks like they're like stuck to the chair. So yeah, that's
Jesus.
Dana White just gave the guy $250K for whatever reason.
Yeah, that's a guy who you want to give life-changing money to.
A lot of people think it's money laundering.
Uh-huh.
So
clean this money up. Wow, that's one of the most dastardly things that I'll probably hear this week. Like a
Yeah, that's
crypto
wild.
casino luring minors with their parents. Like I've definitely heard of that with games that have in-game
PUBG. Well, that's
purchases and
how they
stuff
made
like
their
that.
money with PUBG, whatever that is.
Yeah,
Or like, oh, we sell exclusive skins and prints for your gun, and then it turned into like that turned into, or that's all little kids playing a mobile first-person shooter game,
and you got to
and
buy
then
like these
there's
random loot boxes. So you don't
microtransactions.
even know what you're going to
Yeah,
get. You just open the box and find out if you got what you want. Yeah.
and then it turned out that they were using those to clean their money to get into, like, how can we get 12-year-olds to gamble? Well, let's let them gamble with these rare PUBG skins. So then instead of, so like it was like cleaning their money through PUBG.
Mm.
And like, oh, and then you were like selling these guys like exclusive skins, and then, oh, I have this one of one tiger camo skin for my gun. Whereas they would start gambling with those, like that would be like their gambling chip when they would play roulette with. And it was like, it's so fucking weird.
Yeah, they don't
And
even.
they've
I mean, at the end of the day, like your winnings, if it's a crypto casino, like at the end of the day, your winnings are they're technically useless. I mean, they have crypto
yeah.
has value and shit like that, but it's
Well,
like,
there's a ton of, and it kind of goes into the space that we kind of gone into where back, like, I mean, when the Ponzi scheme of all this NFT and crypto shit was like running high, they were paying for advertisements with like top level podcasters with like Ethereum,
mm.
and so like
I mean,
Tim Dillon, you've
look at
heard,
the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl
yeah,
commercials were dominated with like random crypto and
yeah.
NFT shit.
Yeah,
But sorry,
and
go on.
so like no, you've heard of Tim Dillon, the podcaster, right? Like
Yeah.
he has he huge. It's funny. I like his podcast. It's funny.
Mm.
But the Nelk boys paid him like this insane amount of fucking Ethereum to like advertise on his show, and then as soon as they gave it to him, like just like that, it fucking dipped. And so now on his podcast at the end, he does these fucking reads where he's like, fucking Nelk boys and blah, blah, blah. He's like fucking, you can tell he's like, I have to fucking do this. They fucking got me with this fucking Ponzi scheme of a fucking idea.
Mm-hmm.
And so they purchased a bunch of shit with this cryptocurrency, and then they use the real cash. And I think like guys like Dana like publicly give them this money, and then they fucking wash it for these guys with like crypto. So it's just like, what in the fuck is going on?
Why do it publicly though? That's what I don't understand. Like I don't know if it was posted. I haven't even seen the video. I just saw all the
he
the
gave him a
articles and
brick
stuff.
of 200. He gave him a brick of 250K like in a Walmart bag.
See, to do it in cash and then like have it videotaped and put online, that's so blatant. Like, what was the like? Did Dana think that was gonna make him look cool or something like? And how old are these Nelk boys? Like, are they young?
Yeah. Oh yeah. They're like
So they're like some Zoomers then.
mid-20s. Oh yeah.
So that's extra pathetic because it just feels like Dana is just like trying to be like cool with the kids. Like, that's fucking weird. Like to go out of your way to make sure. And also, it's like you got to go. Like, I don't care if you're Dana because Dana's worth like $500 million from what I understand. Like, I don't care if you're Dana or you're just some well-off guy
It
or
would
whatever.
probably.
It's
no,
not easy to get
there's-
250 grand in cash, even if you have to go to a physical place and like I don't know.
My mind goes to like, what would Dana want that these guys can facilitate? That's in a certain age bracket, and can they get that for him? And did they get that for him? And then this is him kind of like, I'll keep, because they're at every fucking UFC fight. They're like walking around and they put them on camera. It's just so convoluted and weird, man. But you know.
So it sounds like they're almost kind of playing a little bit of a role of like the tap out guys did back in the day. Whereas I don't know.
I wish, dude. That's disrespectful. So what was his name?
Mask?
What was his name with the Mask? Yes,
Yeah.
dude. Mask did not die for the. Mask did not crawl for the Nelk boys to walk, dude.
Oh, that's gonna be the soundbite at the beginning of the episode for sure.
Yeah.
Right on. Well, I'm glad that you filled me in on all of the things regarding the
Dude,
Nelcos.
I didn't even
You
like
haven't even
start.
scratched the surface.
Dana got them an interview with Trump, I guess, and then like they fucking took it, like YouTube took it off like right away. This is crazy.
Well,
And
that's
then they like
despicable.
march out. Yeah, they march out like, and I mean, okay, far be it for me because I've never done it, but like every other week too, they're like, here, we're like, here, homeless guy, here's 5K, see,
Oh,
here,
those videos. Oh
and
my
it's like,
god.
dude, just chill, like, and then they're like, what? And they're like, here, take this money, bro.
Mhm.
How much is your rent? And they're like, huh? Who are you? And they're like, I'm Steve will do it. Here's
Mhm.
$5,000. And it's just like, see, look at us. And then some kid, like, it's like he's like not long for the earth. And they're just like, we'll give him the gnarliest day of his life. And it's just like, like that's super cool. But
So it
why do you
sounds
have
like
to
they're
like
good
shove a
guys
camera?
then.
Yeah, why do you have to shove a camera in the guy's face? You know what I mean? Just like have me. I think the baller move is to like find out about it later on. Like there's a football player, Andre Johnson from the Houston Texans, where like he's been retired for like 3 or 4 years, but there's stories coming out where these kids are older now and they like have a social media presence. Or like I was an orphan, and we had for some reason our orphanage, they just got us in a bus and they took us to Toys R Us. We had no idea why, and then they let us pick out all this shit. We walked out, and then there's this huge guy paying for it, and that was it. And I later found out it was fucking Andre Johnson's a wide receiver for. We didn't even know who it was, and they didn't have a phone back then. And they couldn't really talk about it. Now they're like talking about it, and it's coming out years later. I think that's the move, not the like here. When we shake your hand, look at the camera and shake your hand back, and like take the oxygen machine out of your face because that doesn't. It's like that's kind of more of the feel vibe you get from that.
And in this shot, I'm going to hand you $5,000. And
Mm-hmm.
then when we're all done, you get to keep $300. And it's
Yeah,
like, people are still going to say yes. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
if you gave me that
yeah.
offer, I would be in a Nelk Boys video being like, dude, thanks for the 10 G's, man.
Yeah, I'll send you a link to it too, like of those of this guy. He does a really good job of breaking that shit down. Where there's like a super scumbag guy behind all of it, who like is basically pimping out Zoomer generation kids to get access to their streams, so that he can kind of like Ponzi scheme his way through their fans.
I love people who take the time to expose that kind of stuff. I just watched a YouTube video recently where somebody exposed most of these like primitive technology videos where like you see a dude's like digging like underground pools out like with a stick, like these
Oh
primitive
yeah.
dudes. Like a lot of those videos are total bullshit too. Like they
Oh,
have
is that right?
they have big old like teams of people helping them in excavators and stuff, but the YouTube video will make you think it's like one or two Cambodian guys with a stick, just
Yeah.
like
See, they could have made the pyramids easy.
exactly. Oh man, that's all very, very enlightening. I don't support any of it. I think it's all horrible. But everybody, keep an eye out for Fight Plug Coin. It's our new crypto that will be dropping
Yeah.
soon. Please invest in Fight Club
Yes.
Coin so that we can.
Board Fight Club, Board Fight Plug coin, or what is it? The Board Ape
The
Yacht
board
Club,
apes,
or whatever it is.
the board. Yeah,
It's
man.
just Kenny all wearing a fucking propeller hat.
Yeah, I want to pay for some groceries for some Mexican people.
Yeah.
So let's do it. Let's do it for good reasons. Because I also want Dana to peel off $250,000 and give it to me for my birthday. It'd be awesome.
Yeah.
But I think we've pretty much hit our time limit. We're gonna call it. We're gonna put a bow on it, as I like to say, and we will be back next week to recap UFC on ABC3. And talk about the results with that Brian Ortega, Yair Rodriguez fight, and then talk about whatever fight card is coming up probably directly after that. Because I've come to
Is that the nudist one, right?
I think that's on. I think that's on the 30th. I think that's at the end of the month. So I think we will have a week off. Because one thing that I was starting to realize too is like if we're gonna start doing recap episodes for every fight night card or anything on the weekends, like we're basically gonna be a weekly podcast now. So that's pretty exciting. That's fun. Glad we're doing that. Everybody, hit like, subscribe, ring the bell.
That's right.
Comment. Let us know if there's anything you ever want us to talk about. Even if you don't want to comment, down at the bottom in the YouTube comments. Find us on Instagram, Brandon and Naya, me, Undertones. Up in the top corner, you can see our Fight Plug online presence, and DM us there and talk shit to us there, and let us know whatever random nonsense you want us to talk about.
We should do something like the first, like we literally haven't had a comment, so like
yeah,
if someone puts like a comment like talk about this on the next time you guys talk,
you get to be on the show.
Yeah, you can be on the fucking show if you want to be like something.
Yeah, I think that would be a good incentive because that'd be cool.
I'm sure people just want to do that. So.
Yeah, I will set up a new frame, and we'll put a third box in here, and we'll get some random guy in the world. That's
I was at, dude. I had this craziest thing. I was like blazing it, and then like right before, I was like, I better go get something to drink, and so I went to 7-Eleven, and like there was like one of the 7-Eleven people that hang out front, and I was like, I should fucking just bring him on, and like be like, I train with him. We just got out of training, and he's been to Tiger Muay Thai, and like he bought me this shirt here, and like this is my boy, and then like just see it. But it was a lot funnier in the car than like when I came down, and I was like, yeah, that wouldn't have been fucking funny at all, and I would have let some homeless person in my home.
Yeah, I would definitely do that one remotely. Maybe go to him to record that episode. I would be really, really sad if he just ended up being like the most popular guest on the show. Like nobody's here for us. Like suddenly we'd have that like some rando on, and then that's when we start getting comments and likes and everything.
Yeah, his family sees him. It's like,
be a real life eye opener. All right, man. We're gonna call it there. Have a good night, Brandon. It's been fun as always. Everybody, have a good night. Take care, or a good day, whatever the fuck you're listening. This is a podcast after all. I want to pay for some groceries for some Mexican people.